Technology, we all have learned that it's never perfect. So here we are. I'm Sharon Daly, and I want to welcome you to the reading of the 2025 summer edition of the Solitary Plover. Before we begin, I want to thank the Friends of Lorine Niedecker, the poetry editor, Peggy Turnbull, the copy editor, Kelly Rowley, and Michael Wendt, who is from Woodland Pattern, who is at the helm of our technology needs tonight. Thank you so much for being here to do that. The Friends of Lorine Niedecker is a nonprofit corporation whose goals include preserving and expanding the legacy of Lorine Niedecker, as well as offering educational materials, access to archives, a semi-annual newsletter, and events. For more information and to join, if you aren't a member yet, there is a link in the chat to the website. So I welcome all of you tonight, and I know we're excited to hear the poets read their work from this edition. Just a few directions about how the poetry reading is going to be organized tonight. I am going to send right now. This is mostly for the poets who are reading, but anyone can look at the document. But um, let's see, where am I? Oh, this is so you know where you will fit in the lineup tonight. And the lineup is organized exactly the way the pages of this edition of the Plover are, so we won't be jumping around. The reading is absolutely in order of how it looks in the Solitary Plover. So tonight, Michael will be doing screen sharing so that as the poets read their work, the audience will be able to see the poem printed on your screen, which really helps us look at the line breaks and the interesting way that some of these poems are laid out. I'm going to announce a group of 4 to 5 poets. And again, if you look at that Google Doc, you'll see how the groupings are. And one of the things we're going to try tonight as we our audience members and poets is to have a community of celebration. And so after each group has gone, we're just going to take a 1-minute break. And I ask if you would just refrain from posting any um, celebrations in the chat um, until that break happens. Then we can really focus on every poet's words. And then when that break happens, whatever struck you with hearing the poets read, you can send a lot of poetic love to them during that 1-minute break, and then we'll be ready for the next group to start. So we ask that everyone keep your microphones muted for the duration of the reading, and poets who are reading, please remember to unmute yourself before you start. I know that's always hard to remember. And then when you're finished, you can mute again. And we have invited poets, if they want to after they read their poem, to have a selection of a short Lorine Niedecker poem, if you would like to do that. Let's see, where else am I? Oh, if you're reading tonight and you have a short haiku that is in this edition, because haiku are, they go by so fast, please feel free to read your haiku twice so that we can really appreciate those small amount of syllables. All right. Let's see. Some of the poets that were in this edition were not able to join us tonight, and so I will be reading the poems for the people who are not here. And if you responded to Peggy that you were not able to join, but you are here, I think I have everyone down for that. But if you are here and you didn't respond, just put your name in, and I'll make sure that I check you off so that I don't read your poem instead of you. All right. If you want the audience to see you while you're reading, make sure your video is turned on, but that's totally up to you. So we want to thank everyone for being here tonight and celebrating this summer issue of the Solitary Plover. And now we'll be starting with our first group of poets. So we have John Levy, Katrina Serwe, Wendy Vardaman, and Mary Wehner, who's not here, and I'll be reading for her. And if Katrina's not here, I will also read for her. So John, whenever you're ready, you can unmute and take it away.
Ready. I'd
All
like
right.
to be disobedient, and
Yes.
I'd like to read the Lorine Niedecker piece first because I refer to this poem.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, so it's in North Central. It's from the poem Lake Superior. And for people who have Jenny Penberthy's collected works, and if you want to open the book to that page, it's page 234 on the bottom of the page. Ruby of Corundum, lapis lazuli, from changing limestone, glow apricot, red-brown, carnelian sard, Greek named, Exodus antique, kicked up in America's Northwest. You have been in my mind, between my toes, agate. Lorine Niedecker, and this is dedicated to Jenny Penberthy. Difficult for me to imagine Lorine Niedecker writing in one of, excuse me, let me start over and get a quick drink of water. I'm sorry. Difficult for me to imagine Lorine Niedecker writing in one of her poems that anything is inferior. In Lake Superior, she writes about what is on her mind, while between my toes, agate. Back at home, she also observed and observed, as when she wrote during the second day of August in 1950 to Louis Zukofsky, "What's more wet-looking when it's wet than a rat?" This was when another flood was subsiding. This was home.
Thank you, John. Is Katrina here? I know she said she was going to be here, but I don't know if she's in the room. Okay, so I'll read for Katrina. Her first poem is entitled In Between, Ice Age Trail, Clover Valley segment. I grew up on a gravel road connecting a dirt road to a paved road, the space between wild and civilized. A compromise I walk today down this Clover Valley fence row, where fields of cut corn stalks split for a tree line of trail. Tidy round bales stop at rusted barbed wire, trying to hold back burdock and hound's tongue. Their seeds lick my pants legs, stick like thoughts I don't want to carry to a new place and strip away before I traverse moss boardwalk over water, hovering minnows between roots, in sand and seaweed bottom stream that flows this crack in the land with life, for the happy chickadees and hunting hawk, the blue sky over us all. My steps do not disturb the half-tamed does gleaning. No kernel is wasted in this narrow place, where scraps of civilization transform into something wilder I've been missing. Katrina has 3 in this edition, so the next one is Acorns, Ice Age Trail, John Muir Park segment. Fall flips cold to warm and lazy, seeps into my walk, sandy toe slow under oak canopy, acorns thunk, awake my instinct to harvest, gather up the happy for harder days. I collect picture after picture, looping lake trail views, toast my skin in sun, savor seed-baked air, squirrel away today to hold warmth through the cold season. Next one is Reminder to Self, the Ice Age Trail, Scuppernong segment. Think through the soles of your feet. Drink deep breaths to climb Scuppernong, hummocky hills that hold humidity, deer, turkey family, depressions scratched clean. Stop and write in the shady logbook by the bench. Look into layers of leaves and leaves. Don't move too fast, or the poems can't catch you. Let yourself be caught in the lure of side trails. take the extra trip to Paradise Springs, marvel into Dolomite, blue reflections of rainbow trout, and try the peppery watercress, wild in the stream and crisp in your mouth. Now we'll hear from Wendy.
Thank you. The hay bales unspooling. Their thread ends breaking. I might have taught you sewing. We might have sewed to gather lambs in the fields and on the ledges, and no one was afraid. If they fell, and they might, there was one more. They counted. And then I'll read one by Lorine called Hand Crocheted Rug. Gather all the old, rip and sew, the skirt I've saved so long. Sally's Valance, the twins' first calico, and the rest I work to dye. Red, green, black, hook, hitch, never mind. Cramped around back, not yet the turn of the century. Grandpa forward from the shop. Ought to have a machine. Thanks.
Okay, and one more in this group before we take our 1-minute break to put some poetic celebration for these poems in the chat. The next one is from Mary Wehner, who's not here tonight. And I'll read it twice. It's a short haiku. Who says dark skies cannot stir an open soul? Who says dark skies cannot stir an open soul? All right, so have at the chat. Take a minute, and if you want to write about a particular line or some thoughts that you had from listening to these, that'd be great. And I'll time us for a minute, and then we'll. Mhm. Okay, our next group of poets is Gary, Meg, Maureen Scott Harris, John R.C. Potter, and C.J. Muchhala, and I will be reading for some of those poets that aren't here. So the first one is Gary, and I was informed that he's not coming, so here we go. A series of 3 haiku. Coffee before it's cold, space in our shadows for the wind. Close by in thought, thunder. Melting snow, a warning flag for buried power lines. The next poem is from Meg Freer, and she's not able to join us tonight. Late Summer Notes. Lily pads on the river flap upright in the wind, a flotilla of green sails. Sticky with anilides on tomatillos and ground cherries deter insects. Wine grapes begin their change from green to red or pale yellow. The fat of black bears drunk on blackberries turns blue. And next up is Maureen. Maureen, you're muted, so you need to unmute. Oh, you know, okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yes,
Oh, great. Just my apologies.
it's okay.
And thank you. This is a new gathering for me and new people. It's a pleasure to be here. Gathering last year's weeds. Shadows stretch over rumps of hills. Awash in the grasshopper buzz of clay-colored sparrows, I walk in the long evening light, my head full of Thoreau's long thoughts on the dispersal of seeds. I wish I were wearing Thoreau, slipping his knowledgeable hands like worn gloves over mine. I'd use his fingers to snap these brittle stalks, bone-smooth remnants in extraordinary shapes, nameless ghosts, weathered to uniform gray-white. And I'd like to read a tiny one from Lorine. It's one I read over and over again because it offers so many possible readings. It's along the river. Along the river, wild sunflowers over my head. The dead, who gave me life, give me this. Our relative, the air, floods our rich friend, silt. Thank you.
Thanks, Maureen. So the next poem is by John R.C. Potter, who could not be with us tonight. It's called Her Name Has Germanic Origins, a tribute to Lorine Niedecker. Niedecker comes from the German and of pre-Volga origins, with nie meaning never, but was bedighted Decker? A person who covers a roof with tiles, the way you laid a path with your poems, writing your life in words, quietly, both plover and poet, in a cabin on Black Hawk Island, your legacy forever imprinted due to what you penned, and your precise paean to place. And next up we have CJ.
Thank you. Should I read mine first or Lorine's? Can't hear you.
Whichever you prefer.
Oh, okay. I'll start with mine then. Yeah. And I apologize for Muchhala. That's the beginning of my email, and I don't know how it got on as my tag. Mist, drizzle, downpour. On the 5th September day of rain comes a longing for December's crisp glitter. And the poem I found from Lorine, which I think is wonderful, is called The Park, a Darling Walk for the Mind. A sense of starlings musing on robins. Green statue burns near abandoned steepled railroad station. Lakeshore silence. Glass box mushroom with stairway stem art museum. And townward, the taverns.
Must be Milwaukee, huh?
Sounds like it.
Thank you. That was the second group of poets and poems. So let's take 1 minute to show some appreciation in the chat, and we'll come back with the third group in 1 minute. Yes, those rumps of hills, such a great line. So in our next group of poems, our next group of poems and poets, the first one is the longest poem in the edition of the Plover, and it's by Stuart Ross, and he could not be with us tonight, but he sent a video which Michael Wendt has queued up for us, and so he will share the screen so that we can hear the video of Stuart Ross, and then that will be followed by Michael. And Mary, Rowin, and Georgia Ressmeyer are not here tonight, so I will read theirs, and then we'll take another 1 minute break. So here is Stuart.
Hi there, I'm Stuart Ross from Cobourg, Canada, though right now I'm in Montreal. And I'm really, really thrilled to have a poem in Solitary Plover. It's a real honor. I'm going to begin by reading a poem by Lorine Niedecker, and then I'll read my poem. Along the river, wild sunflowers, over my head, the dead, who gave me life, gave me this, our relative the air, floods, our rich friend, silt. And this is my poem. It's called Fort Atkinson. Maybe I'll just give you a tiny bit of background here. Nelson Ball, who this poem is addressed to, was a great Canadian poet, a minimalist, a huge fan of Lorine Niedecker's work, and her work really influenced Nelson's work. So, dear Nelson Ball, I hope you're enjoying being dead. I hope it's a great place to be observant. Speaking of which, my friend Lisa Fishman, a poet whose work I hoped you once found, just called me over to see a snake, maybe half a meter long, its head raised from the leafy ground, still. Nelson, I am sitting against a tree about 2.5 Nelsons length from Lorine Niedecker's cabin in Fort Atkinson, Wisconsin. Lisa pushed the front door. It opened. Niedecker lived in this small one-room cabin, a short stroll over crunchy leaves from the gentle, Lisa called it, Rock River. I'm not sure if you'd agree, and I'm surprised to say it, but life can be remarkable. I lost one brilliant friend who devoted his writing to observation and pure experience, and who loved Lorine Niedecker's poetry, and then, just a few years later, was gifted another brilliant friend who has devoted her writing to observation and pure experience, and who loves Lorine Niedecker's poetry, and even spent a month once writing in Niedecker's cabin. Sometimes it's hard to find good things in this world, but I'm sitting on the ground, bugs landing on me and climbing up on me, and the spider webs clinging to the logs of Niedecker's cabin are quivering in the breeze, and towering trees are throwing painterly shadows, but letting some brilliant late afternoon sun through. And this poem is much too long to have been written at the condensery. Thank you, Nelson, for making me know Niedecker's poems and making this moment possible. There's the stuff of nature stuck all over my clothes. Thanks very much.
And next up we have Michael.
Yes, hello. Thanks for having me. I also am going to read the Lorine Niedecker short poem first because my poem actually incorporates it in the form of a golden shovel. And if you haven't encountered the golden shovel form before, this is a poetic form that was invented by the poet Terence Hayes, maybe about 10 years or so ago now, where he incorporated all of the words from Gwendolyn Brooks's short poem, We Real Cool, subtitled The Pool Players 7 at the Golden Shovel, and put each word of the poem at the end of a line and sort of then expanded on the idea to write his own original longer poem. So I've done that with Niedecker's short piece called We Are What the Seas Have Made Us, which is actually in Traces of Living Things in the TV section. And this extract, or it kind of reads to me like its own self-contained little poem, goes, We are what the seas have made us, longingly immense, the very veery on the fence. So then the challenge is, how are you going to use all those words at the end of your own lines? And especially when you've got something weird like veery, which fans of Niedecker probably know is a particular bird. So I did something different from that with that. And I'll also say that it's an acrostic, reading down the left-hand side, first letters. So my poem is called For Lorine Niedecker, and it is a golden shovel. Leaving the leafy shore again, we open to a field where spores are ripening and the stars suggest not what is going to happen, but instead the now liquid night, the lapping seas ever receding, and yet all that we have. A way is thus made, not of essence, but a mere unfolding of us. It's the song of a thrush calling longingly, each little note somehow immense. Dense the grass underfoot, the evening dew, our morning's map, very clearly of the sinuous, swervy, veery kind. The dew, its own sort of sea on every green blade, and wet in the rinse of it, we sink under the fence.
Thank you, Michael. The next two poems in this group, before we take another minute chat, are by Mary Rowin and Georgia Ressmeyer, and they were not able to be here, so I will be reading those. Mary C. Rowin's poem is entitled November 13th, 1872, 7:35 a.m. An astronomer has calibrated the exact date and time of day when Monet painted Impression Sunrise. I consider Earth's predictable position in the universe. Morning sunrise, moon, waxing gibbous, still visible, milky, almost full. A moment that, if painted, could be found more than 100 years later. And Georgia Ressmeyer's poem is called Is. This is not the start of a question. It just is. Acquiescing in giving, upgiving, no, and yes. Malignant sky, raindrop constellations punched on a screen. Then, clouds surrendering to smears of blue, also leaves, gold, red, green, switched on, unaccountably lit. The street gleams, everything, as always, is, including this. And we'll take a 1-minute chat to put your thoughts on that group of poems and poets in the chat. Okay, our next group of poems and poets, we have Ingrid, who's not here, so I'll be reading, and Julie Sherwin, and Donna Fleischer's not here, so I'll read, and then we have James Roberts. So let me just... This is an interesting poem for me to read. I had to like say, how this is supposed to sound like a bird. All right, neurogenesis. Love me, love me. Oh, they still stop me in my tracks, quicken my wintered heart, the melting crystal notes of resilient chickadees, their love and light and letting go.
My one bowl, this hole that holds the moon. And then an equally short one by Lorine. This is from North Central. The smooth black stone I picked up in True Source Park. The leaf beside it once was stone. Why should we hurry home?
Thank you, Julie. And now we have James Roberts.
Hi, I thought we were doing Donna Fleischer next.
Oh, you're muted, Sharon.
You know what, James? Your poem's up there, so thank you for reminding me I skipped Donna Fleischer. So why don't you go since you're all queued up, and then we'll just backtrack up one poem and I'll read Donna's. Thank you.
Okay. Dark spaces. We live in the same black closet and call it home. We are often afraid of the dark and want to come out. We never know when our monsters will rise and find us palatable. And then I have one of Lorine's. Promise a brilliant funeral. Travel, said he of the broken umbrella, innovates the point of stop. Once indoors, theology, for want of a longer telescope, is made of the moon woman passing amid silk nerve thoughts in the blood. There's trouble with the moon makers' union, the blood makers' union, the thought makers' union, but the play could be altered. A man strolls pale among zinnias, life and satin sleeves renounced. He is intent no longer on what directions herons fly in hell, but on computing space in 40 minutes, and ascertains at the end of the path, this going without tea holds a hope of tasting it. Chalk faces going down in rows before a stage have seen no action yet. Mr. Brown visits home. His broker by telephone advises him it's night, and a plum falls on a marshmallow, and sight comes to owls. He risks 3 rooms noisily for the brightest sconce. Rome was never like this.
Thank you, James. Now I'll go back to the poem by Donna Fleischer that I mistakenly skipped. Birds blur into the bluer blue, wakening. Overhead window gone from the wall. A small life of great feeling ecstasy. All right, and we have a 1-minute break for chat comments, and then we will get to our last group of poets. So fun to see all the great comments in the chat. All right, our last group of poets. We'll start off with Ronnie Hess, and then Mark Harshman's not here, so I'll read. Adam Flint's not here, so I'll read. And then we'll finish off with Dan and Lakshman. So Ronnie, take it away.
Dream house. Falling down, wood-shingled cottage, edge of the ocean, waves from disaster, one storm from being swept away. What possessed the dreamer to bid 30,000 for it? No hesitation, a sea song of no known architectural significance. A workman's nail and patch some flowers planted in window boxes, thriving in salt air. Mother says she's crazy, but she will have her way. All is motion, breathing, washing, casting up, casting away, impressions of days equal in worth. And so I've chosen from Lorine, from poems 1960 to 64, starting on page 194, poet's work right after grandfather advised me. Property is poverty. I've foreclosed. I own again these walls thin as the back of my writing tablet, and more, all who live here, card table to eat on, broken bed, sacrifice for less than art. Now in 1 year, a book published and plumbing took a lifetime to weep a deep trickle. Thank you.
Thanks, Ronnie. The next poem is by Mark Harshman, entitled Raining. A dimpled vernal pool. How distant that cloud, to be seeding these plosive thumbprints far below in this little eye within the forest. So many languages write their miracles upon the ordinary and are never seen. I take note to believe in them, to believe I can learn them, decipher this arcane language, ancient beyond all others. And the next poem is by Adam Flint, Trinket. I'll read it twice since it's a short haiku. Slope bedewed, I dote amid, one lone magpie flummoxed in the trove. Trinket. Slope bedewed, I dote amid, one lone magpie flummoxed in the trove. Next up we have Dan.
Thank you for this beautiful evening. Around, I can manage. But when the river comes up in full floodedness, that moment, taken, not deported, taken. Yes, your boat tied to steps, but so much flooding the zone will never flower. Spring anemones will not SOS the stars for courage to brown cottage turtle this flood. Fascism flooded the bishop's full days, all proclaiming some flood damning thing. A dog at night, barking nonsense as if Hanshan, a Eucharist through the window. And a beautiful little piece by Lorine that I found in Hummingbird magazine. Springtime's wide water yield, but the field will return. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. And now our last poet this evening is Lakshman, and then we'll take a 1-minute celebration in the chat.
Okay, so this is a poem in the form called Renge. Renge is a modern version invented by Gary Gay, the poet Gary Gay, who writes haiku a lot and other forms of Japanese micropoems. And that's why he gave the form, his last name, the first part of the form is called Renge. The REN comes from the original Japanese Renku, and the second part GAY comes from his last name Garige. And this can be written in multiple flavors, like 3-2-3, 3-2-3, by a solo, or 2 people, 3 people. And experimentally, it has been written by 4, 5, and 6 people too. My poem today is a renge, a solo renge, a poet of and larger than place. Childhood summers, hopes fill in for money's lack. Lake Superior and wilderness fill in for her verse to sing place. Beside the river, out of flood, wood dog daughter fill in for warmth in the heart. In exchange for haiku or haiku-like verse, fill in for the delicacy of her hokku. A piano to place fills in for her space and quiet. The years go by, old mother, dear Mona, Mary, fill in for seeing light in dimness where time is white. All the words in italics are either Lorine's words from her poems or some of her collections. Thank you. And I will be reading one small poem by Lorine. It is from the set 5 poems. This is poem number 1. To my pressure pump, have been free with less and clean. I plumped for principles. Now I am jet bound by faucet, shower, heater, valve, ring, seal, service. Cost to my little humming water bird. Thank you.
Thank you, Lakshman. All right, 1 minute to drop some poetic love in the chat, and then we'll come back together for just a brief closing. I think we could make a poem out of some of the great thoughts and comments that are in the chat tonight. It'd be a great group poem of love to all the poets and poems that we've heard tonight. Thank you so much to Michael for showing the poems on screen as we were hearing the poets read. I know that in the last page of the Plover, there was a announcement about the Welcome Poets Project. Is Ann Engelman in the call? They're in the Zoom room. Not sure if she came. But the 6-part series with Nick Gulig, who was the poet laureate of Wisconsin, and has a series on PBS with his move to Fort Atkinson. Anyway, it's just the most lovely video series. And I think Ann told me yesterday that it's going to be available starting September 12th. So look for that. Are there any other messages from anyone in the Lorine Niedecker Friends group who have something for the good of the cause here?
I'd like to just thank Peggy and Kelly for putting together this great issue of the Solitary Plover.
Yes. Let's all give them a big round of applause.
And I too like to thank Peggy and all the editors of Solitary Plover for putting my renge in the newsletter. I think I contributed 2-3 times, but this is the first time I put a renge. So, and thanks to her and all the staff of the Friends of Lorine Niedecker. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, we want to thank all of you for joining us tonight, and we hope to see you back for the winter edition reading. Imagine that, as we're in the last throes of summer here, thinking about a winter edition. But we hope to see you then, and have a great rest of your evening, and have a lovely fall, and keep submitting poems.
So the deadlines for submission will be when?
I'm not sure. You're stumping me on that. Does anyone have an answer to that question?
It's okay.
I'm sure it'll be posted on the
Okay.
on the site for the Friends of Lorine Niedecker. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes. All right. Thanks again to all of you, and thanks, Michael, for our tech support tonight. It was great to see you all. Thanks all who came and listened, and thanks for the poets who read.
Thank you.